Hey guys, welcome to Love Anything Art. Glad to see you here today. I have a fun little ink project for you. I was playing around and I came up with this and I wanted to share it. So these are the ink colors I'm going to be using. Honestly, you can kind of use whatever colors you want, but if you really like the way this turns out, then these are the colors I'm using. And I'll kind of show you each step along the way, what I'm using in each of those steps, so you can recreate it. The colors in this piece turn out really, really pretty, so I hope you enjoy this. I really like using the lilac in a lot of my works, but it honestly kind of turns blue once you bake it, so that's something to consider. I don't know if all brands are the same way. And then I just have some makeup powders. I'll show you a close-up here of the name. These are pretty old and I've had them forever, so I just kept them for whatever reason. I didn't really use them, and so now I use them for my art projects for clay. So really any kind of shimmery powder that you have, you can use any kind of makeup powder for any clay project you wanted to. I'm going to use a little bit of Bacon Bond too. That is optional, but it's really going to help sometimes keep the pieces stuck together, especially after adding all of the inks and powders and such. So I do recommend some Bacon Bond. And I'm not using a lot. This is the translucent clay. I'm not going to use a lot of it. So it's a really small project, but a little bit's going to go a long way. That, and I don't want to have a whole bunch of leftovers. I just want enough to make basically 1 or 2 pieces. And in the end, I did make about 3. So I'll show you all the pieces at the very end. I'm not going to overwork my clay. I just really want to kind of just roll it out until it's flat and a little bit thinner so that I can apply my inks to it and spread it out. That way you don't have to just drop the inks on there. It's easier for it to dry a lot faster and for mixing. So I do like to roll them out a little flat and then put my inks on there. Making sure I shake all of those because that sediment does settle to the bottom. And I'll just kind of show you how many drops I put on there. Really, I'm just putting 1 for each of these. And it doesn't really matter. You can kind of alter it to how dark you want yours to come out. Just spread that out, let it dry, and then you can mix it up. You can mix it up as much as you want to or as little as you want. I do like to not always fully mix mine. I kind of like the swirly pattern that it leaves in there because when it bakes, it makes it so that it gives it more depth. At least that's just my opinion. You'll see there. It's absolutely not thoroughly mixed in, but if you don't like to do yours that way, you can fully mix it. It doesn't really matter. And all those colors came out really pretty. You can make yours as dark as you want. I did kind of go for a lighter look, so. Then I'm going to take that white, again, I'm going to put it on top of all of my little strips of clay, and then kind of smear it out so that it dries a little bit. And I'm using a little bit of this pearl, but honestly it doesn't really do anything but kind of add a little bit of glitter to it. It's like a clear color with like powdery kind of a glitter inside. And then just topping mine with a little bit of that shimmer powder. It says that it's like a pink shimmer, but I can kind of see the pink in it, but honestly it looks a little bit bronze or brown to me, like a really light brown. Using a little bit of the white powder on the last one. And really you can kind of just mix it up. If you want to put it on all of yours, you can do that. I'm just following kind of what I did the first time around because I want it to come up with the exact same results. Stacking all of my pieces together, and it might be better if you put some Bacon Bond in between each of those slices, because it wasn't really sticking a whole lot. So it doesn't need a lot, just a little bit. You don't really want it to be too moist. It'll get all squishy. So I just put a little bit on there. Lately, I've been really getting into making clay projects with translucent. I've done a couple of different patterns, and this is one of the ones that I thought was the best, so that's why I kind of wanted to share this with you. I've been really getting into making stone pieces lately. So that's what I was kind of doing here. A lot of times I'll look up pictures online, but I have a really hard time trying to replicate like stones that I see online. But I'll kind of look through pictures of, agate stones and such like that and try to kind of come up with my own idea. Or, hey, I like the way that looks, but it would look better with these colors. And then obviously it comes out way different. But I'm not really good at 100% replicating, so a lot of these are just inspired by rock pictures I found online, and then just kind of altering it with the colors and supplies that I had. As I'm rolling it out, I'm not rolling it like to make it super flat and to smush all the layers. It is going to flatten them a little bit, but you want each of the layers to still kind of be distinct so it has a stripe look to it. So I'm just kind of working it out, making sure all the pieces are stuck together, and then trimming off the ends. But honestly, you could probably just leave them all on there, because in the end of how it's all going to be mixed together, it probably really wouldn't matter. But again, I was just kind of following my first time doing it, so I just wanted to replicate that. Just slice it into thin or thick slices. You can do a variety of different kinds. You can even make them at angles. It's kind of whatever you want. I'm going to pull each of these layers apart and lay them side by side. And this is just so that I can chop it a little bit better so that the pieces don't all stick together. So it looks really pretty like this. You could actually just stick it all together, make a veneer, and then cut out shapes. It would be really, really pretty. So you could actually just stop at this step if you wanted to, or maybe you could save half of it and do that, and then the rest of it you can continue on and make what I'll make. Again, I'm just going to chop it into random rough size pieces. It doesn't really matter. You can make them super small. The design and the pattern, I think, will come out a little bit more intricate if you make them really small. But I kind of want it to still be able to see all of those lines in the piece, so I left mine at varying sizes. And then just make sure they're not all stuck together. Pull them apart. And then I found that putting my clays that I'm going to do ink on a piece of tinfoil really kind of helps contain a lot of the messiness. So let me know what you use, or if you do something differently, or if you use tinfoil. I'm going to add some of that snow color on top again, and then just thoroughly mix that. I really like using that snow color in a lot of my pieces, or at least lately I've been doing that. And I don't want all of my pieces to be coated in purple, so I'm just taking a dry paintbrush And then dabbing a little bit of the ink off that I put on there, and then just dabbing a little bit onto the clay itself. You can also just take it straight from the bottle and put it on there. You just don't want it to be really dripping so it gets all over the place. You kind of want it to be a little bit more controlled, and I don't want that purple to become like a really light purple. And the same with this green color. You can use whatever colors you wanted, but I kind of wanted to keep it in the same color theme, and this green and purple obviously go good with the colors underneath, so that's kind of why I did that. And all the pieces aren't coated. I don't want them to all be coated. I just want like little pops of green color and purple color. And then just mix it up a little bit, make sure it's dry, and then you can start squishing it into a block. And if for some reason yours is not sticking together, you can add a little bit of Bacon Bond, but this actually stuck together pretty good. You can leave your cane as large as you want it to be. I just kind of kept making mine a little bit smaller, so it really doesn't matter how big it is. And lately I've been getting into trimming off all of the sides of my canes so that each side is even. And I think it helps when you cut it into slices and then lay them out so that they kind of lay together at the same thickness and width. And then just slice all those off, and of course just make a veneer out of it. And again, there's not a lot of clay to work with here, but I didn't want a lot of pieces to come out of this. I did make this before I started filming, so I do have one that was very similar. So I'll show you the piece at the end that I made from that. I just really like the way it looks. I just kind of like the patterns. It's very almost geometric. You can cut out any shapes that you want. I'm just using a mold that I have, and I'll briefly show you what I make and how I made it, because most of the time I think people kind of just watch the videos to get ideas on patterns and such, so I'm not going to go into super detail here, but just I put a thin layer inside of the mold and then just cut away the excess. And I did find it to be a little too thin, so I decided to take the rest of the clay that I didn't cut up before, and I made another veneer out of it. And then I'll put that down inside of the mold, and it'll make the dome a little bit thicker. I've been really into making like bubbled up pieces lately too. I don't know, something unique and different about them. Cutting off all of that excess again. If you have circle cutters, you can make it that way also, but I kind of wanted to do it this way just in case somebody didn't have circle cutters, so it's just another way of doing it. I'm gonna make a base for it, so I just took some more of the clay I made and then cut it into little pieces made of veneer. And then this will be the bottom of my little dome. You could put that on there and just kind of manipulate it to get it to stick into place. You can also use a little bit of Bacon Bond if you wanted to use that. Then you can decide how you want your piece to hang, if you want it the top side to be heavier or the bottom side to be at the top. Either way you want to do it. I was just kind of trying to decide there. Just poke a hole. Make sure you poke it into the part that is hollow so that it has some room for venting. And it doesn't need a lot, just a tiny little hole. I'm going to use that for hanging too, so. And this is the piece. It looks really, really cool after baking and applying the resin, and it brought out all those colors. I just love the little pops of green, and you can see a little bit of the purple in there too. And then of course all of the white sections on there. And then this is the piece I made from the first one I did. So it's very similar. And then I took some of the little pieces, chopped it, and I added it there in the middle to kind of make it look crystallized. I really, really like the way this piece came out. Let me know which one of these you like the best. If you want to see how I made this, just leave me a comment below and I'll try and make a video. And then this is just one more little piece that I made. Just something simple. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!